with that, let me just start with the outcomes that we want to drive today. So there are two modules, and we are covering both of them in sequence. So first one is we are going to talk about what is growth, why growth mindset in itself is important, which is you. Your mindset is the most important mindset to drive growth in your organization, in the community, in the startup ecosystem, everywhere in your lives. And what is the importance of understanding users to drive growth? I know that most product managers, they understand kind of these three things. The Venn diagram, it says you are in between user and business and technology. And while all of these three are important, I think there is just no growth or no product without understanding consumers in depth. So we'll touch upon that a lot more. In fact, the module 2 also is going to continue from that one, which is continuing from our user understanding. How do you get deeper into user psychology? We'll talk about some popular growth models and how do you think about those, both atomic as well as aggregate models, which will help you think in frameworks. We'll talk about the use of, or the not only the use of, but how do you apply experimentation to drive growth in your org? How do you think about product marketing and GTM? GTM is nothing but go-to-market strategies. And finally, which is one topic which is very close to my heart, which is monetization and growth. You cannot think about a company that only thinks about growth, but it's always a combination of revenue, growth, and experience. So as I was talking about in the introduction, the first thing as an individual who is either leading product or even aspiring to enter into product management is that you need to have a growth mindset. Mindset is everything. Mindset is not something which is, so we'll talk about growth mindset versus fixed mindset. In a way to think about that is you need to think about everything that is status quo is not, can be changed, should be changed, and you're the right person to change it. So your mindset must start with the motivation. You have to willingly kind of embrace the challenges and risks of a possible failure. You cannot think about, for example, hey, I'm trying to avoid risks and failures at all costs. So your mindset needs to be of the growth one. You have to believe that your own talent is not just limited to what you have right now, so that you don't finish learning after you have studied college or MBA or whatever, or after your first job. You're never going to settle. You're always going to think about that my mindset is about growth. I have to keep on learning, and I have a deep belief in that if I keep on learning and investing, I will learn and I will be able to change the world. And that mindset is super important. It's always be curious and always be learning kind of mindset. A good or a great product manager has like one of these or all of these three combined. So the first thing that I look for in a great product manager, and I think that's super important, is they have to have grit. Grit is passion, the never give up attitude. You need to be passionate about the cause. You need to be passionate about the area, the category, the problem that you're trying to solve. So somebody gives you a kick or a punch, you don't like permanently step down or move out. You actually come back and try to solve that problem. So you have to be gritty, you have to be passionate. And with grit, a lot of good things come. If you are gritty, then you have the growth mindset. If you are gritty, then you will be curious. You will have learnability. You will have curiosity. You will go outside and try to find out like how will this work, and you will not give up if you try out like a bunch of different ideas, etc. And so that's one. Second one is in some cases it is inherent. Some people are born with that talent, and some people will need to learn through it a lot more, which is problem identification and solution. In a lot of cases, we think that product managers, especially growth managers, are solution managers. Like they will come up with these crazy little beautiful ideas or hacks that will solve a great problem. Even more important though, is you need to know what is the right problem to attack in the first place. There are a variety of problems in the world. It's full of that. Unless you identify the right kind of problem to solve in the first place, there is no solution. In some cases, there are people who identify great problems, but they don't even have a good solution in mind. That is also not good. So you need to have both problem identification and solution as a core skill set in your persona. And with the grit and passion that I talked about earlier, you will actually be able to pursue it and be able to solve it. But we are not working in silos. We usually work with people. We work in teams. We work with our managers, our CEOs. We work with we work with our users. And for that, the third part is super important, which is communication and influence. You need to be able to communicate really, really well. and you also need to understand the value of the users. Remember, we talked about 5 personas. Well, you should actually build a lot more and say, I will not solve for those kind of users, because those are not the most valuable users for my platform. If you solve for everyone, you're not solving for anyone. So it's important to understand that what kind of beliefs and personas you really want to go deeper into. And between these three, you should be able to come up with a much better understanding of your user. First thing, users are irrational. No, there is no doubt about it. You may think all users are rational, but they are only semi-rational. Understanding consumer behavioral psychology can be an extremely useful tool to drive these action and form habits. They will not always make the most logical choice. The choices that your users make will be depending on a variety of internal triggers and external triggers. The key takeaways of today's session: one is product-led growth. Product plays a key role in all the teams. And when I'm saying product-led growth, if you take a step back, for those of you who have studied marketing in your MBAs, they're called 4 P's in marketing, right? You have product, you have placement, where is the user finding that product, you have pricing, and you have promotions. So today we kind of talked about all of the 4, but when I say product-led growth, it's your software product in the center. That's the kind of ruling growth now. The second one is for you, the product manager or the growth manager, or whichever employee that you are. Your mindset is going to define it is the defining factor for growth for both you as well as the company. If you don't have a growth mindset, it's very highly unlikely that you'll be very successful in your life. So let me just put it that way. Then user understanding. We touched upon a few of these concepts today. How do you think about users? How do you understand their belief systems? What are the rational and irrational choices that they make? How do you think about the 3D model of users? How do you think about atomic growth models? And even the pricing. How do you understand their willingness to pay? So we have not gotten into the depth, but each of these topics are kind of thesis worthy in their own right. We talked about there is no single growth model. Like today, if you look at like the number of things that we talked about, you would have realized it's an insane world. There are X number of products, Y number of models, Z number of pricing strategies, so many promotions and so on. And nobody has perfected it. There are some companies who are very good at it. So you want to be that part. Growth hacking. This is like, by the way, I hate this word. There is no growth hacking. It's about systematically understanding users, the models, and exploiting different growth levers in a creative way.
We'd love to. Thank you so much, Anuj, for spending this time with us. And you have a great weekend. We'll catch you soon.
All right. Thank you.